Welcome back to It's All Local. Thanks so much for joining us. We are delighted today to have as our special guest, Steve Miller.
Thank you.
And we're going to be talking about
food
and eateries.
And eating.
All right. So, going into 2015, we decided as our first guest on It's All Local, going into this new year, we would talk to a restaurant owner, see how things are going, share a little bit of your story, because I know you didn't grow up in a kitchen.
That's right. I did not.
You're certainly masterminding a great one here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, we've been here, what, 2.5 years now? And as you said, because you and I have had this conversation,
right.
I'm a retired CEO from a public company. I've never even worked in a restaurant.
See, this is what I love about it, and this is why it's so great to have this at the beginning of the year. New beginnings. That's what that was. No ends, series of new beginnings.
And,
philosophy.
And I had heard that it was a long and winding road that brought you here.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Aren't
So,
they all?
Yeah, well, I guess so. So how did it start?
Well, I retired in 2011, and my wife is born and raised here, so this is where we came to call it quits. And I just wasn't comfortable being retired. And we decided to do something that would be fun, and I thought, wow, I can open a restaurant. I can have an occasional glass of red wine at my own restaurant. That sounds like a pretty good deal.
That sounds cool.
And here we are 2.5 years later, TripAdvisor's #1 rated restaurant in all of Culpeper.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
For 14 straight months.
Wow.
I should be a full service restaurant.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
But yeah, we've done great.
Well, had you always thought that you wanted to be in the restaurant business?
My wife and I had talked about it. It would be interesting. What a chance to meet some great people. And we could probably enjoy ourselves.
Right.
We took a chance, and here we are.
So do you take a hand in the kitchen at all yourself, or you leave it to the experts?
I'm a retired corporate guy, so
okay.
I surrounded myself with people that are smarter than
me. Yeah.
Both the servers and in the kitchen staff, and they've really driven us to success more than me.
Okay. Well, you know, we talked about this earlier, but I did eat here and left a review on TripAdvisor, and I thought the food was excellent, obviously from my review.
Thank you.
So, well, how do you select the meat? How do you go about doing that?
Well, it's a couple key things. We have to be consistent at the service level and at the food level. And in my prior career, I ate at a lot of nice restaurants around the world.
Right.
I knew what I liked.
Right.
We chose 27-day dry-aged steaks. We buy it right from the processing house, and we cut them all in-house here.
Okay.
So we can control the quality that way. And at the end of the day, it's quality of product and good service is what drives customers back.
That's
and
right.
You know what's the nice thing too? Over the years, the caliber of restaurants in Culpeper has certainly risen quite a bit. And what I liked when this place opened is that it sort of added yet another dimension to food offerings that Culpeper didn't have. And plus the location, you need to share with our viewers, those that don't know, because this is a very neat building that this restaurant is in.
It was a great concern when we opened. I felt we might be at a disadvantage because we're not on Davis Street.
Right.
We're a block away. And it's turned out to not make any difference at all. It's the consumer in this market is pretty sharp, and they know what they like, and they're going to go to the right place, right places. And you're right, this town is amazing with restaurants.
It's got some great restaurants.
And I'm happy to be part of that family. There's some really, although technically we compete, I like to eat the other restaurants. I like to eat here.
Well, I think what happens when you have a lot of good restaurants like we have here is they build on each other, so that this becomes a destination for people to come to have a good meal. And maybe one weekend they come here, another weekend they go to It's About Time, another weekend they go to Fody's. I mean, there's a whole range of restaurants that they can go to
Well,
here.
and I think the other very neat thing that Steve has done is tapped into that restaurant week. That happens, and that way people can come, and I think really for very reasonable price you can get a three-course
meal.
And I mean, I've known folks that each night of that week they're going to a different restaurant.
Right. Well, let's get back to your philosophy. I mean, in terms of your restaurant, I mean, I've always felt like it's very simple what a restaurant needs to do. It needs to serve good food, and it needs to have good service, okay, which sounds very simple, but it's not. So how did you approach establishing this restaurant? What sort of philosophy did you bring to it?
Well, as you said, I knew we needed to do, and I brought some good folks in, and we talked about the business philosophy, not focused on making money, focused on delivering the level of service, both in the food quality and service to the table. And that was a change, that was a cultural change for the service servers and the kitchen staff. And they've enjoyed that we drive. We're more focused on delivering service than we are making money.
And do you find that that actually increases business by doing that?
It does.
Right.
It's counterintuitive, but you deliver good service and you actually start to make money.
Right.
You know, and my observation too is I don't think Steve has a lot of turnover either.
Right.
Folks seem to be pretty happy.
You're right. I have 3 employees from the day we opened the restaurant 2.5 years ago that are still here.
See, and that's great in the restaurant business because there tends to, I mean, there can be turnover, but
it's a high turnover business. But it's a family. All of the staff gets to vote on changes. They get to vote on menu changes, policy change. They're involved because I can't run the place without them.
Now, are you here all the time? How does that work?
Interestingly enough, I was until, yes, 6 days a week up until about 6 months ago. And we've promoted one of the individuals to general manager, and I take 2 days off a week now.
Okay.
oh my goodness, that's great. Now, I know that you have regular dinner type service, but do you also do like any kind of catering or like conference work? Or because I know you've got some rooms upstairs, you could have smaller parties and things.
Well, we don't cater outside the building, but we do a lot of private parties upstairs.
Right.
Okay.
We have a room, we don't charge for it. Seats up to 35,
Yeah.
Okay.
and seats as small as 2. And I love to tell the stories on the 2s. We have 3 or 4, 5 engagements here every year. And the gentleman will come in and we'll work out a plan, a small table upstairs, dozen roses, some fake diamonds sprinkled on the tabletop, and it's all very well orchestrated. He'll come in with this date, and I'll tell him that we're busy down
Oh, yeah. Well, that's neat.
How
But I have a quiet table upstairs for you, and we'll take them upstairs and we'll get them seated, and then my staff stands around and waits for the scream, because it usually takes about 1.5 minutes or 2 minutes
To figure it out.
And then the woman is, he asks for her hand and she screams, and then it's okay to serve her.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, that's very cool.
It's a lot of fun.
That's
very
cool.
rewarding.
That's really neat.
Wow.
Now let me get back to the more mundane stuff. Okay, I like to watch a show called Restaurant Impossible. Do you watch that?
I do.
And what have you picked up from Restaurant Impossible?
Why would he be so
No, but it's really good.
Well, I know,
it
but
really
he's
is.
He's consistent on what
That's right.
the expectations are. Is the quality of the food has to be above average.
Right.
The service has to be spectacular, and it has to be the same every time the guest comes in.
And a simplified menu.
It is.
And you do that.
Simple menu.
Yeah,
2
yeah.
pages, start to finish.
When I came in here, I noticed that as well. I noticed the menu and thought, okay, you're doing it right here. You're not trying to be all things to all people.
Correct.
You're trying to be a good steakhouse, and that's what I noticed from the menu.
And you talked about the rest of the restaurants in town, and high-end steak and high-end seafood is going to be my niche. And I don't want to vary outside of that. Let's focus on what we do best and stick with it.
Right.
So I have good desserts here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they are very good. Yeah, yeah.
Thank you.
So you don't foresee any changes going into 2015. The economy seems to be, I don't know, it depends, I guess, on who you take your signals from, but there seems to be a little bit more upbeat and to keep the restaurant, because restaurant's hard to manage.
It is. I expect we'll see a continued growth similar to what we've had.
Okay.
And we'll grow double-digit percentages month over month from where we were a year earlier. And I anticipate to be a good year in 2015. I look forward to it. I get to meet a lot of great people and have some fun.
Names and faces to remember.
Yeah, that's a challenge. The memory's not as good as it used to be.
So have you seen it as a steady increase in terms of business for you since you've opened?
It's been very steady. After the first 6 months, we had a large spike. It's been very consistent since then.
Oh, here we go.
Look what Chris has got for us.
Oh, yes.
Oh, look at that.
Excellent.
So, Steve, thank you. This is amazing. Describe what we're going to consume here pretty soon.
Well, we've got a couple things. You've got a regular ribeye steak,
Yes.
and that's 16 ounces. That's a full pound. You've got lyonnaise potatoes. A lot of people don't know what lyonnaise potatoes are. It's a baked potato that's cubed into 1-inch squares. And then deep fried for literally 10 seconds, and then put in a pan with garlic and onion, and saute them. And then we've got
a real nice little coating on it,
yeah,
and then you take that bite, and it goes into it's very
a little bit
nice.
of flavor there. And then we've got 2 wonderful bone-in ribeyes. Bone-in ribeyes, 22 ounces, and obviously with the bone, you've got bone marrow that melts into the beef, and it changes the flavor and consistency. Makes it real nice. Creamy mashed potatoes and other lyonnaise potatoes. A couple of good-looking meals there.
So, Steve, you mentioned that some of this beef is dry aged. What exactly does that mean? What's that doing?
It literally is hung in a in a room with controlled moisture, and it breaks down the gristle between the fat, so it just makes it that much more tender. It literally starts to deteriorate some of the tougher parts of the steak. It allows it to cook better, and it's much more tender after it's done.
So Steve, these meals are waiting for us to consume. Gary, we're going to get into it, but how do folks find you? What's the best way?
Well, the best way would be call and make a reservation.
Okay.
We have a website. It's PiedmontSteakhouse.com. It's pretty simple.
Okay.
Menus are on their website. Call and make a reservation. We only have 10 tables, so we sell out relatively quickly.
Oh, okay.
And it's best to make a reservation, and we'll guarantee you a seat and treat you right.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today on It's All Local. And for our viewers out there, where to find us, you can find us on your local cable station, Channel 190. You can find us at virginialivingtv.com, and also go to our website at www.culpepertimes.com, and there's a little bar on there that says It's All Local. Click it and you'll see us. Happy New Year again. I'm Anita Sherman.
And I'm Gary Close.
Where's your little thing?
Well, I'll see you on the flip side.
All right. Thanks for joining us. See you in our next episode.